first accusation of the season, and data from day 3 of preseason. Let's discuss it now. Hello, and welcome to another video from Pole Position News. Let's dive into the details of the third day of preseason testing. Here's what we have. On day 3, Albon recorded the fastest top speed at 318 km per hour, while McLaren was the slowest, reaching only 305 km per hour. It's likely that McLaren was running with a significantly lower engine setting, something that was already speculated the day before. As we can see, the other team speeds were quite close to each other, ranging between 314 and 318, which suggests most teams are running in similar setups, whether it's aerodynamics or engine configurations. It's worth noting that Sauber has been consistently fast on the straights across all the days, always ranking among the top, which would indicate they have a car with low downforce. This might give them an advantage on high-speed tracks like Monza, where lower downforce is beneficial for higher top speeds. Ferrari, on the other hand, was in the middle of the pack, so we'll have to wait and see how their configuration plays out in real races. Another interesting piece of information from day 3 is about sector times. Williams was the fastest in the first sector. Mercedes led in the second and third sectors. And in terms of ideal lap times, Red Bull had the best overall average. Red Bull stayed in the top 3 in every sector, which includes all drivers and teams with 2 drivers, like Mercedes and Red Bull. Notice that teams such as Aston Martin, Sauber, and Racing Bulls were often among the slower ones in terms of performance during these 3 days. So, don't be shocked if these teams end up at the back of the grid when the season starts. Still, let's wait and see how these preseason data translate into actual racing conditions. The final noteworthy data from day 3 is the fastest lap times. George Russell was the quickest, closely followed by Max Verstappen, with Albon placing Williams in the top 3. Williams' preseason performances have been eye-catching, but it's unlikely they'll stay in the top 3 once the season starts. They may be running with a lighter fuel load compared to others, allowing them to post faster times. Behrman was at the back, which is typical for Haas, as they usually run slower during testing. Bortolito is also at the back, and Hülkenberg has been consistently near the bottom throughout preseason testing. As mentioned earlier, Aston Martin and Racing Bulls have also appeared toward the rear. So, day 3 didn't show much deviation from the previous days. We'll have to wait for data from long runs to understand if anything has changed from one day to the next, and to assess who has the upper hand heading into the season. Now, let's discuss some important news, starting with the 2026 preseason. Yes, that's right. Formula One is planning for multiple preseason sessions with a new set of regulations. The first session will be in Barcelona at the end of January, so we could have cars on track by the end of January, but with less time for teams to fine-tune their cars. Then, in February, another preseason session will take place in Bahrain, similar to this year's preseason. This extra test will give teams more time to analyze their cars, especially with the new engine regulations, which are always quite complex. The goal is to give teams as much testing time as possible, considering there are no in-season tests like there used to be until the early 2000s. Now, the main news, the first accusation of the season. Red Bull has officially stated that some teams might already be circumventing the regulations. Pierre Larcher, Red Bull's technical head, said in an interview that McLaren and Ferrari are still using the Mini DRS. Red Bull hopes that when the Australian Grand Prix comes around in about 2 weeks, the FIA will take a closer look at these rear wings. Remember, during preseason testing, teams can use illegal parts, much like during Friday free practice. The issue arises during the official sessions, which are qualifying the race, where illegal parts are not allowed. The Mini DRS, for those who don't recall, is a system McLaren developed where the rear wing opens slightly, even when closed, which increases straight-line speed despite the wing not being fully open. This caused a lot of controversy last season, and it was calculated that McLaren gained a considerable advantage in races due to this. Adding small gains here, and there makes a difference in performance. Some people might view Red Bull's accusation as just a reaction to being behind. We'll talk more about this in another video, as it seems Red Bull may be losing ground to its rivals. But for now, the key point is that Red Bull has made its first accusation. They're raising this issue in preseason to either confirm that their rivals are breaking the rules, or if they're not, it's clear that Red Bull has spotted something in the rear wings that they might want to copy. That's the purpose of a protest, to gather information. Once a protest is formally filed with the FIA, the team being protested must share their technical details with everyone else. Red Bull is likely to file a formal protest soon. For now, Pierre Larcher has made this informal accusation in interviews to draw attention to McLaren and Ferrari's rear wings. These two teams are allegedly using the system, according to Larcher. We'll have to wait until Australia to find out, and by then, the cars should be updated. Red Bull, for instance, already showed up with an updated car today, different from the previous 2 days. Verstappen even spun at one point, possibly getting used to the new car, or maybe something else was at play. On the third day, there were also some strange events, like a bus on the track causing a red flag and some glass shards that ended up on the racing line. Nevertheless, the overall preseason has seen the teams perform well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. See you in the next video.